My goal of my research is to reconstruct past history, and I do that using sediments and fossils. And so we use a sedimentary record, and I'm really interested in kind of how the sedimentary record records Earth's history and what is recorded in that history, and how that varies across different times and spaces. A few of the projects that I'm working on have to do with really old rocks, so things that are 385 million years old. We study similar to what you'd find in a tropical marine setting, but we find them in the United States today. So I do some work on that, and then another big project I'm working on is reconstructing a major climate change event. So it's one of the most rapid climate change events in Earth history. And so it's a really important analog for what's happening today, so we can understand how organisms, biology was responding to that change, how the ocean and chemistry and environment was changing at that time, and then potentially use that as kind of a better understanding of how things might respond to climate change today. And so that is one project that I have lots of room for students to be involved in, and it's very interdisciplinary, so it involves a lot of biology, chemistry, and geology. So I'm really open to working with students from any major in that project, and there's a lot of fun students. We're already working on that project, so you'd have a team of people to help support you and help guide you along the way. And then more recently, I've also been working on some things that use sediments in today's environments, like Morro Bay, to understand how humans are impacting the environment. So we can see that record of human impact in the sediments and in the life that lives in the sediments. Students that work in my lab gain a number of skills. We all go out into the field as a team, we come back, and then the students work on different aspects. So some of them work on just the grain size and the sediments, some work on the fossils, and then some work on the chemistry of the sediments. And then we put all that data together into one story. And so students will work together and learn about the different techniques and maybe even participate in the different techniques, but then end up writing up a certain portion of that that's maybe most interesting to them. I always have my students, participate in some aspect of putting together a presentation or a paper. So then they get the experience of coming up with a research question, thinking about their hypotheses, putting the data together, analyzing it, interpreting it, and then many of my students end up presenting it at a national or international conference or being part of publications that we work on together. So if a student's doing research with me, I usually start by just meeting with them once a week. And so I meet with them individually once a week, and then I usually have a research group meeting once a week. So you get a chance to meet with me one-on-one and develop kind of what specific readings you might need to know and background information, but also we can learn about your interests and I can give you specific guidance on the project that you're doing. I think that students that work in my lab end up really feeling like they're part of a big research team because there's usually at least 4 or 5 of them working at once, and it's really helpful to see how that team science works because you can see what role you have in that bigger picture. So I have a certain expertise or interest, and then I contribute my ideas in that perspective, but then the other people's perspectives also contribute to the bigger picture question that we're interested in. So it can be really helpful to see how people work together on a team to solve one problem. My advice to students who are interested in research would be to first start by just looking at a faculty member's webpage, so you can look at our websites and see what kind of topics we're interested in. Sometimes we post papers that we've written or certain projects that we're doing. And then the best way is just email me and say, hey, can I meet with you? I'm interested in your research. Here's a little bit about myself, and you can tell me a little bit about your major, your interests, your experience. But again, even if you don't have a lot of experience, I'm still willing to work with you as long as you're interested. We can definitely teach you the specific skills you need for the geology and chemistry and biology that we do in my lab. And it really just kind of takes an interest and motivation to do the work.